Hello again. The thumbnail to this video shows Elaine Leroy Locke, a brilliant African American philosopher. He was the first African American to study at Oxford University, where he arrived in 1907. He was one of the first Rhodes scholars to be afforded the opportunity to study at Oxford as a result of the funds bequeathed to the university by Cecil Rhodes, whose statue stands above the High Street on the front of Oriel College. In his will, Rhodes specifically stated that the scholarships which he was establishing should be open to everybody of all races. The campaign to remove the statue of Cecil Rhodes is of course known as Rhodes Must Fall. If you ask those who are taking part in this effort why they wish the statue to be removed, they are liable to give two reasons. The first is that the presence of the statue allegedly distresses black people, and the second is that Rhodes was a racist. Looking at the first part of this claim, we observe that in 2010 there were 52 black, Asian and minority ethnic applicants to Oriel College. By 2019 this number had increased to 85. It does not, on the face of it, look as though that statue of Cecil Rhodes, which is in any case so high up on the front of the college to be barely visible to the naked eye, is really putting black people off. We notice too that of the 32 Rhodes scholars scheduled to start at Oxford this autumn, 22, which is about 2/3, belong to visible minorities. Because of the provisions of Cecil Rhodes' endowment, access to Oxford University for black students and other visible minorities has been greatly widened. Before looking at the question of whether Cecil Rhodes was a racist, it's worth bearing in mind that it is nearly all young white people who object to the statue. Look at pictures of any demonstration about it and you can see at once that 95% of those present are white. Hardly a black person in sight. But then for social reasons, to do with things like class and income, most black people are too busy trying to keep going and put food on their tables to fret over much about some old statue. They have more urgent things to think about, like paying the rent, arranging childcare, earning a living. It is privileged middle-class white students who have the leisure to sit down outside Oriel College and complain about a man who died 116 years ago. As far as Rhodes being a racist is concerned, the evidence is pretty scanty. He certainly was not a biological racist, which is to say he did not regard black Africans as being an inferior race to white Europeans. He thought that they were more backward than Europe and that in time they would catch up and be on a par with everybody else. This was not a common view in the 19th century, when many white people saw black people as being inherently less intelligent. Cecil Rhodes said, though, "They are just emerging from barbarism. I do not believe they are different from ourselves." Something which is not commonly known is that black Africans had the vote in the Cape Colony, which is now part of South Africa, as soon as it was set up in 1853. There was no distinction between black people and white when it came to voting. There was a property and income qualification known as the Cape Qualified Franchise, but then of course we had this in Britain as well at that time. In Britain at the end of the 19th century, roughly 40% of men did not have the vote to vote in parliamentary elections because they did not fulfil the necessary property qualifications or had not attended university. As Prime Minister of Cape Colony in the 1890s, Rhodes certainly increased the property qualification, but this did not distinguish between black voters and white. Indeed, he said of the vote that "I could never accept the position that we should disqualify a human being on account of his colour." This does not really sound like the sort of thing that many racists would say. It's true that Rhodes thought that the English were better than everybody else in the sense that they were more advanced, but then the Chinese at that time regarded Europeans as barbarians, and even the Zulus thought they were better than anybody else in the world. Chauvinism was not limited to the English by any means. I'm not at all sure why Rhodes has been singled out in this way, but I'm sure that sooner or later the fuss will die down and the matter will be forgotten, and I hope that the statue will still be there in 100 years' time.